When I was around 15, my family and I moved into a 3-bedroom house. My older sister chose the bigger bedroom and I didn't really care much at the time. I got the smaller room down the hall, which kinda looked creepy since there was a window right at the end of the hallway and my bedroom would be on the side of where the window was. So when you go out of the room, on your right you'd see a small window on the wall next to me where the hallway ends. As I was getting my stuff into my bedroom, I saw something odd, which looked like a nail which was on the windowsill. I ignored it and just went back into my new room. Little did I know that this house was previously owned by a crazy old woman who had died in this house. My parents told me this after when things started to get worse. So, anyway, as I unpacked everything and sorted my stuff, I felt a cold breeze come out of nowhere. Mind you, it was a freaking summer and was very hot during that time. Out the corner of my eye, I saw a black figure unmoving right where the window was. I was 6 to 7 feet away from it because I was in my room. During this time, I froze and felt tingles down my spine. I quickly ran downstairs to my parents and didn't have the words to explain what just occurred. After calming down for a bit, I told them about the black figure and my father went upstairs with me to check up on it, but he said, "You're not a child anymore, Sky." I felt hurt because he thought I was playing around with him. He then checked everywhere, my room and the window close by, but there was nothing. A few hours went by and we all were eating dinner. My older sister was in a bad mood and was texting her friends at the table, which she always used to do. I was the talkative one whenever it was time to eat dinner with my family, but in reality I'm an introverted girl. So, I was asking how Dad's day went. He works as a construction worker, and he said it was okay. Suddenly, we heard a loud thump coming from upstairs. You could kind of see the hallway because that's where the stairs led up to, and downstairs is where the dining area was next to the kitchen. My dad then asked, "What was that?" in a concerned tone. He got up from the dining table and grabbed his old bat that he always kept in the kitchen if we were ever in danger. He slowly made his way upstairs and heard more sounds. Thump. 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 It got louder and I was scared shit as daylight. He then go to the final step and went to stand in front of my room. He also looked to the side where the window was outside in the hallway. No one was there, but sounds came mostly from my room. He tried opening the door, but it was locked? How could that be? I never lock it and there is no key to lock it or anything that makes it locked. It was an old doorknob. My dad began to push all his body against the door and it finally opened so hard that he nearly fell over. I wanted to see what the commotion was about and I ran upstairs so fast if he was okay. My dad told me he was fine and the door was only stuck. As he was talking to me in my room, I just felt like looking into that window and what I saw was dreadful. It was that dark figure standing but outside looking through the window directly at me and I screamed so loud that the neighbors could hear it. My dad rushed to me and didn't see anything. I told him something was there but he just couldn't see it and then the figure vanished. No one believes me to this day, but I'm glad we finally and eventually moved out of that creepy house. I'm the night miller in a flour mill. Our mill has been running since the 1870s, with upgrades in the 20s to 30s, everything is still hand adjusted, no computers or automation other than the stop/start and the production scales. Milling used to be an extremely dangerous profession and it's still not one of the safest. That's a bit of backstory. I catch flashes of people walking around out of the corner of my eye 3 to 4 times per week, at the end of the roller mill line or on the other side of the sifter line or on the next flight of stairs, etc. There's only 4 of us in the building at night, so I know it's not my co-workers as they'd have no business in the areas I'm talking about. About 6 months ago I was dropping the measuring tape in the flour bins to figure out how much space we had left because we hadn't gotten any trailers to load in a while and were tight on space. While I was squatted down reading the tape, I noticed legs out of the corner of my eye. They approached and stood next to the bin hatch waiting for me to be done with my math. I figured it was our loader, come up to see if we were going to run out of space. I finished up and rolled up the tape, stood to talk to him, and by the time I was standing and turned, whatever it was had faded away, vanished. This was a solid presence. I 100% saw pants and work boots while I was concentrating on my tape and math. It wasn't hostile or anything, just interested in what I was doing. That's my spooky story. It sounds better when I tell it out loud though. We are 2 weeks away from WK1 Day 0, so you know what that means. That's right. Time to get excited by sharing Coachella camping horror stories. What's yours? Okay, I'll start. The year was 2014. Our car camping group was maybe 4 cars or so. Nothing too crazy. We got there early afternoon. In the middle of setting up our campsite, I can overhear our neighbors in distinct Aussie accents just getting super hyped that they are there and bust out their speaker and proceed to blast the Pet Shop Boys West End Girls. We finish setting up camp and start to mingle with them and introduce ourselves. It was a group of 4 Australian guys, all first-timers at Coachella, who were all super stoked to see the Pet Shop Boys that year, hence, them blasting West End Girls. The lads were nice enough at first. As the day turned into evening, the excitement from our neighbors only ramped up. By the time the sun went down, I had heard West End Girls roughly 10 times. The song wasn't on repeat per se, but they kept playing that damn song, which I actually like, but come on. They continued to drink and kept getting louder and louder, and kept playing West End Girls. By 1 a.m., I thought they would lose steam and settle down a bit. Boy was I wrong. These guys went all fucking night. Like literally. They partied past 4 a.m. and loud as fuck the whole entire time. I got next to Nosleep for day 1. I was so pissed and frustrated that the luck of the draw gave me these neighbors. I stayed in my tent as long as I could, trying to get any extra minutes of rest that I could. I finally exit my tent around 8 a.m. and see all 4 of the Aussies sleeping on top of their one tent that they brought. Tent is completely collapsed and broken, and they are literally all passed out laying on the now broken, useless tent, in the sun, without a canopy. Cherry on top if that one of the guys was but naked, passed out laying on his stomach, with a glow stick sticking out of his ass. This was before they started carrying canopies and tents in the general store, so these guys had no tent the entire weekend. They didn't even make it into the festival on Friday. I went back to the campsite early Friday evening to recharge and grab a jacket, and they were all sitting in their mess of a campsite just hungover, hurting, and very quiet. Came back after the festival ended Friday at like 1:30 a.m. and they were all still sitting and laying around, super quiet. Best part was we got to return the favor. Our group was partying hard that night and they actually asked us if we could keep it down. We all laughed and continued to party. They eventually made it in on Saturday and enjoyed their Pet Shop Boys. They weren't half as crazy on Saturday night as they were day 0, thank God. It all worked out in the end. It was a rough way to start the weekend, but I'm glad I have the story to tell. When I was a child I loved watching scary movies and staying up late trying to scare myself, but after this experience I will never do it again. I was around 16 at the time, staying at my auntie's house when they decided to drink and stay up late getting lit. They let me have drinks with them, but I decided to end the night early and go to sleep, but the only place I could go to sleep was my auntie's bed, so I went into their room, put on a movie and passed out, but around 2 a.m. I woke up and looked over at the door. I don't know why I did, but something felt off, so I just did, but I'm the doorway. I saw an old woman holding a baby that looked exactly like my little cousin, so me being half asleep I say her name, we will call her Kay for privacy reasons, but as soon as I said Kay's name they both just disappeared, so me being a bit confused I decided to go out and chill with my auntie and uncle as they were still drinking. It got too cold that I just decided to go back to sleep, but was woken up by my auntie telling me to go sleep in with my 3 cousins. The woman started walking towards me and I could see something sharp in her hand. She got closer to me and I could make out that it was a knife, and I tried to scream but nothing would come out. She then proceeded to cut my arms and my legs and just cut my whole body, and after a while of torture from this woman I passed out. I don't know how, but I just did. In the morning I woke up covered in blood, cuts and bruises, and when my auntie asked what happened to me I told her everything from the night before, to which she froze and turned pale. I asked her what was wrong and she asked me to describe the woman, which I didn't see her properly, but I could make out long messy black hair that looked like she'd never even attempted to take care of it, and a long white gown covered in blood, my auntie explained. to me that before they moved into the house a mother, her baby and her husband lived in it, and one night the husband found out the woman cheated on him, so he got revenge by killing their baby, which this put the mother into a deep depression and she ended up killing herself. She now haunts that house and whoever sees her and tries to talk to her or her baby got badly cut and beaten most of the time to death. I never went back to that house and I learned that my auntie and uncle moved out not too long after that.